We all fail in the garden. I do. Jacques, I don't want to speak for you, but
I definitely do.
He's made a few in his life, and so have you. So we did this last year. It's the end of summer. We figured why not ask you all some of your biggest gardening fails this year.
So last year you guys sent in some really hilarious answers, including somebody who watered their tomato with milk.
So I was like, what has calcium and is also wet? Milk. Oh my God.
Yep. And it did not go well for them. So let's see what you guys brought us this year, because I'm excited to see what kind of mistakes were made.
Yeah, we all make them, and there's no shame in that. We're far from perfect gardeners ourselves. Let's kick it off, Jacques. This is from Summa Lee. She says, well, I finally produced about 40 cherries on my tree. Me and the kids were literally waiting for them to be big and juicy. The night before we wanted to pluck them, we were so excited. Next day they were gone. Kids crying. I was like, wow, these are some crazy birds. Guess what? Neighbor has a Ring doorbell looking at my cherry tree. We asked if they could see their footage. The bird was my neighbor who went into my, oh, that's a crime. That's a real crime. Went into my garden, plucked my cherries while he was complaining to other neighbors that the front yard should not be allowed to grow food in. Okay, what does your emotional body say to that?
I would be furious.
I would be so mad.
I don't even, like, who has the right to tell you whether you could grow food in your front yard, first of all?
Yeah.
But to trespass, which is what they're literally doing, and steal those juicy, if somebody stole my first mangoes before I got to eat them.
I'd be taking out the machete.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be guarding with the machete at all times. That's crazy.
This is the craziest part to me. Isn't it their own footage that they gave him?
I guess it's the other
Did they incriminate themselves?
No, it's probably the other
No, but here's what I'll say. It's one thing to like ask your neighbor if you can have some squash or something.
Totally.
But until you're a gardener, you don't understand the dedication that goes into some of these plants. If someone took my first loofah, my first dragon fruit, my first any of these plants, I would be so furious. So I'm very sorry to hear about that, Sally. That is devastating.
Hopefully next year, triple the harvest. So Bluebird said, last year I went berserk planting melons for the first time. Cantaloupes, honeydews, large and small watermelons. Vines overran the backyard, trailed over retaining walls. There was no place to walk. I couldn't tell where the roots were. It was so dense. Unable to access to fertilize, I just let them run amok. I counted 80 melons.
That's a ton.
That's a lot. When it seemed time to harvest, I didn't know what I was going to do with all of them, so I started to remove them one at a time. Cut open to find out they were inedible. Of the 80 plus, only 4 were worth eating. The rest went into the compost.
Oh no.
I have since learned you don't allow every melon to grow, and you should fertilize throughout the period and taper off the water at the end.
That's accurate.
It is all accurate.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to grow 80 melons and harvest them and only eat 4 to find that out the hard way.
In the lesson. Well, the reasoning
It's hard.
Yeah, no, melons are a little tricky because there's so many different types. I'm looking at one of my biggest melons I've ever grown right now, and you're totally right. Generally speaking, per vine, especially if you're trying to grow a big one, you don't let too many melons develop. Maybe like 2 to 4, I would say. Yeah. And you're right, you do dial that water back. Otherwise, it's going to absorb all that water, and that sugar, that sweetness is going to be a bit diluted. So hopefully next year you'll grow 10 melons, all perfectly sweet.
Definitely one of the hardest things to do though, is remove fruit.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Yeah, he can't do it.
I can't do it.
All right, we've got B Villa Bike Lady. She says, when I was about 5 years old, my fraternal grandfather told me that M&Ms were actually seeds, and if I planted them, I could grow a chocolate bush. I watered and watched for sprouts a month before my parents found out what was up and got me some real seeds. That's a total grandpa move. And if I become a grandpa one day, that is something that I will be doing 100%.
Yeah, I think like it's trolling, but it's okay.
It's okay.
It's not harmful.
I think it's okay.
I think it's a little bit of a lesson.
My brother was convinced for a while that our neighbor's dad was on the Red Sox. For like 3 years, he thought that our neighbor Dave was on the Red Sox.
Oh, because like he was just told that?
Dave was just like, I'm on the Red Sox. He just kept saying that. And Brian's like, all right, interesting. I don't know why you live here instead of Boston.
Priest here is saying an adorable rabbit family, made a nest in the center of my raised veggie garden. I couldn't bring myself to kick them out, so I ended up sharing a lot of my harvest with them that year. This is something I'm very thankful for, that I don't have rabbits. I sympathize. How can you kick out a bunch of baby rabbits?
Cute little rabbits, yeah.
That'd be a tough one for me.
I don't know if I could do it. I've got enough space, fortunately, here that I could let them be and I'd be fine. But yeah, I don't think I could do it either. So
no.
I respect it.
Yeah, respect.
This is me punning the bit. Okay. My biggest garden blunder is not gardening. Well, you know what? No shame.
Yeah.
Some seasons you just don't have it. And it's August as we record this right now. August is the month a lot of people say I'm done for the season.
Yeah,
and
I don't blame it.
There's nothing wrong with that. No. It's 90 degrees right now. I'm in all black. I'm sweating my D off.
I'm going to be covered in sweat by the end of the
Our
day.
boy's going to be drenched.
I'll tell you that.
Rob Clower 9606, not mine, but my neighbor across the street. They tried to replant their Christmas tree in the backyard. Okay, I mean, that one's pretty funny. You know what though? Here's what I'll say. There's a lot you can do with a Christmas tree. There's a lot you can do. You can cut all the boughs off, use that as mulch. You can take the trunk, cut it into logs, and you can like drill holes in it, and you can get a little bit of like an insect hotel thing kind of going. You can use it as a trellis. It's a little bit weird. You could use it as like a bed border, right? Cut it and use it as a bed border. Replanting it, probably not the most effective
Not
technique.
if it's cut at the bottom, that's for sure.
Not
That's
if
gonna be a
there's
trip going.
no root system. But
I will say, if I live somewhere like cooler, I would probably want to just grow a tree in my front yard and trim it
and
like
just
a
cut
Christmas
it down.
tree.
Oh,
No,
that's
like
a good idea.
just like leave it there every year, decorate it. The
perennial.
presents won't go there, but I will like trim it all sharp into a nice triangle.
Imagine
I think that'd be kind of fun.
imagine if the presents would go there.
Oh, that'd be kind
Right?
of fun.
The
but
backyard, you got like a-
so that the neighbor doesn't steal.
Santa can't be coming out of here.
So Ricky here is saying, back when I was a teenager, I planted a wisteria on one of those cheap arches with like a 1/2-inch hollow metal rod. I've used those before, not great. It literally tore the archway out of the ground, twisted it up, and it caught onto my neighbor's porch before I got all tore down and left runners all over the yard, making it difficult to mow. Also planted blackberries, not realizing the entire stem is covered in thorns. It attracts rattlesnakes who eat the animals that the blackberries provide. Wow.
Ricky's got some problems.
Ricky's got some big problems.
Here's Ricky's main problem. You gotta look up what the plant does. You gotta look up the habit of that plant and what it will do. And look, have I made that mistake? 100%.
Yes.
I have some horsetail or equisetum out by my outdoor shower. A friend of mine told me not to put it there. I did it anyways. And that thing is running like 8 feet underground, coming up like in my kitchen at this point. So I feel you, Ricky, I feel you.
I will say, if you do want thornless blackberries, they do exist.
Yeah. All right, we got Cole Bendelli. Says, last year the cows I had grazing on my land were too tempted by the tall corn stalks by my garden fence. They nibbled on them every once in a while and I thought nothing of it. But the nibbles weren't enough. And so one day they decided to jump over the 4.5-foot fence. Really? Can a cow do that?
I guess so.
Before I could run them out, they ate and destroyed everything from the cucumbers to the sunflowers. And I even saw some of them eating my peppers. This year my glass gem corn is safe and sound. Lesson learned. Wow. So I'm not a cow man. I'm not a rancher, but I did not know like 1,000-pound cattle could jump.
I feel like
4.5
that's like
feet?
my vertical. Like, can I even jump 4.5 feet?
I cannot jump 4.5. No, you cannot jump 4.5 feet, dude. Absolutely not.
All right, Lindsay here is saying that they planted,
you're
planted mint in the ground. I had tried to grow it before in the ground in a swampy area in New York, but it never took. So when I made an herb garden in Tennessee, I didn't think it would be too much of a hassle. I was painfully wrong.
We've all been there. I mean, when you learn, you just got to learn about plants that have runners.
Yeah.
You know?
Those are the danger plants. Be careful where you put them. Consider everything. Apparently Tennessee is great for growing mint though, so maybe you could start a little mint farm, a little mint julep factory. Not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Ariadne here said, my second year of gardening, I decided I wanted an asparagus bed. Not a bad idea.
Nice.
I scoured the internet for unique, highly rated varieties, built a raised bed, planted them by roots and waited. I also decided I wanted to try raising chickens. I see where this is going.
Yeah.
And ordered chicks. I thought they would stick to their fancy organic feed and treats, but of course they didn't. The day after they were old enough to be moved into my backyard, my newly sprouted and beautiful asparagus were devoured and the bed completely dug up.
Oh no.
They left me a single broken spear. I haven't tried growing asparagus since, but I did become the neighborhood chicken lady. I went from 4 chickens to 30 within a year.
Okay.
That's serious chicken math.
That's chicken math.
I've planted a little garden just for them now and have discovered that they love Tabasco peppers.
That's painful. That's painful. I mean,
is painful.
the thing with asparagus is if you lose it in the first couple years,
It really sucks.
It really sucks because it takes 2 or 3 years to establish.
Yeah.
So I've got my asparagus right back there. I'm on my 3rd year, and finally it will. But I will say, like when I let the chickens out, they'll roam through and they'll jump into the bed and pick around because
Okay.
all those asparagus berries.
Yeah,
they
that's right.
tend to not dig it up. So maybe she just got unfortunate because it was, it was
Probably
really
the timing. They're
really young, really
Not a lot
early.
of roots.
But we feel for you.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
All right, we have Stranger3131. I wanted to learn plant identification. Planted some seeds in a few pots and didn't label them. That's
Classic.
That's an interesting
Interesting
technique.
strategy.
Yeah. Thought I'd be hardcore and identify them by their traits. But didn't you plant them so you know what they are?
Some
when
extent.
you planted them,
Some
right?
extent.
Unfortunately, they sprouted and seemed to have stopped growing. They all look the same, and I don't think any of them are gonna make it. I don't know what to say to this one. This one's like sort of kind of a fail all the way through.
Yeah, it's a hard way to learn.
But you know what? I did see, Jacques. This is another fail. Someone sent me a pic once of a weed they took care of for a year in a pot. So they planted it in a container, like they thought it was like a basil or something. and then a weed sprouted and the basil didn't, and they just took care of a weed. Like they pruned it, they did this, they did that, and they're like, oh, it's just a thistle, or something like that, yeah. All right, we got Yuri Vanda. Wasn't me, but my mom. We plant a lot of pepper for paprika powder. Really good idea. I did that this past year. And my mom always bought the seeds year after year. Once I asked her, Mom, why don't you just save a couple seeds and save some money? She said it's because whenever she tried to use the seeds that our own pepper had, they never started to sprout. She can't explain why. Neither could I until one autumn day when I helped her again to make the paprika powder. Sometimes the autumn can be really wet, so if the peppers do not finish to dry in the sun, we usually pop them in the oven till they're nice and crisp. My mom then put a couple seeds that were left in the pan into a cup and said she'll try to plant them next year. I was like, Mom, what the heck? Turns out she was trying to plant the toasted seeds and was wondering why they never sprouted.
That's pretty funny.
You know, that's funny, and you want to sort of make fun of it or tease it a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those things that it would slip your mind, especially if you don't have the horticultural knowledge.
Yeah.
Like sometimes like very basic things like that, you just don't put together until you like really get into the garden.
No, and if they were probably just dehydrated, they'd be fine, I'm guessing.
Dehydrated is how you do it.
Yeah, but in the oven, like if they're really getting crisp,
the heat would kill it.
That's probably
because a seed is alive.
Yeah.
A seed's just very dormant but alive the whole time. So sorry to hear that.
Let's see what Megan has to offer here. My parents moved to a house with a massive yard, and instead of having a 10 by 10 foot garden, my mom made a 100 by 100 foot garden. That sounds like me. And planted about 20 each of zucchini, butternut squash, and some other type of squash.
No.
They were practically hucking them at my neighbors, lol.
That's a lesson you have to learn once.
Yeah.
Once ever.
I'll tell you what, you're still learning, because I see over here like 12 zucchini plants.
Don't even tell me. There's like 7 zucchini right there. I'm out my ears in zucchini. We've donated actually 3 or 4 bushels.
I actually stopped planting it. I'm just taking it from here. Just
be my guest.
You know.
Be my guest. Here's the thing, I don't know, because there's that much. All right, Today On says, first time growing cucumbers. Last year, I see some ants in the plants. I think, how cute, maybe they'll help pollinate. No, those evil monsters brought in the aphids to farm. Common pattern. No matter how much I hosed or sprayed organics at the aphids, the ant brought more in, and the aphids just multiplied and multiplied until the cukes were hijacked and completely overwhelmed. This year, it's personal ants, you're going down. You know what? It's funny because ants really aren't that big a problem in the garden.
Yeah.
Unless this happens.
Yes.
That's
the
one reason.
Was right.
Yes.
That maybe they were pollinating, because they do that.
Yep.
But the aphids is when it really becomes a problem, because that's just a tricky situation to deal with.
They start farming.
Yeah. And we're probably going to do a video on this whole topic, but one thing to keep in mind is that they're probably living literally at the base of your cucumber plant. So that would be the first place to check.
Yep, you can do a little excavation there.
All right, so we have Vanessa here, and it says, trusting my hubby to buy a few tomato plants. He bought 96.
96, bro, come on.
This reminds me of a story that my partner's dad recently experienced. His wife said,
hey Steve, go to the store and get like 4 stalks of celery.
And he's like, or she said like, I need like 4 to 10 stalks. He goes to the store and he buys 10 bunches of celery, like 2 bags full of celery. She's like,
what am I gonna do with all the celery?
He said, you needed 4 to 10. She's like, I said like spears.
1 bunch.
Yeah, like 1 bunch.
Yeah, I gotta say, you know what, to Steve's credit, that's a weird way to ask for that.
Yeah.
Just ask for 1 bunch of celery. Just ask for 1 bunch.
6 to me.
Steve, I'm with you. All right, Indie Element says, 2 seasons ago, we never planted potatoes and we wanted to give them a try. We placed an order for potato seeds from our favorite seed website. All excited, we opened the delivery box to find regular ass potatoes. And that's when we learned how potatoes grow. That's pretty funny, actually.
That is funny.
I think
I like that.
If you're a gardener, like a new gardener especially, and you're growing something a little off the beaten path, like maybe an asparagus or potato, you don't realize that some plants aren't best grown from seed. They can be.
Yes.
In fact, actually at our seed company, Botanical Interest, we sell a potato true seed called the Clancy potato, so you can actually grow it from a seed. But she's totally right. You order a seed potato and you get a box of regular ass potatoes and you plant those and that's how they grow.
It's a great way to learn though.
Yeah.
All right, so we have Elizabeth here and she said, I had a kiddie pool overflowing with lush greens for my salad, kale, collards, Swiss chards. Then these little white moths, started flying everywhere.
No.
They were little green worms on everything. A few plants got munched on within days. My entire beautiful salad garden was decimated.
That's the cabbage worm.
Yeah, those
probably a
guys,
cabbage worm.
they're not nice. They leave their eggs. Those caterpillars are hungry for some greens,
Those
and they
guys-
go
yeah.
to town.
And they're hard to see.
They are
is
hard
the
to
thing.
see.
They're sort of a lighter green than most plants are.
Yeah.
But they're still, for some
kinda
reason,
get
hard to
lost.
see. And they eat like crazy. It's like multiples of their body weight a day.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say to make that a little easier for you is don't plant all of your brassica style crops. So like your mustards, your cauliflowers, your broccolis, your cabbages in one spot. I like to spread them out
Yeah.
through the garden because otherwise you're sort of signaling, hey, just come here. It's an all you can eat
Yeah,
buffet.
it's a target.
Yeah.
You're drawing them right to it.
All right, we've got Timo here. I've got a 4-pack of sweet cherry pepper transplants last year from a local nursery. Tried the first pepper right in the garden, ate almost all of it and thought this seemed kind of hot. It got hotter and hotter. They accidentally labeled habaneros as cherry peppers. Thanks a lot. Oh no. Yeah, I mean, he says, I'll consider it my fail as I should have known by looking at him. That's good ownership,
Yeah.
Timo.
Yeah.
Because you're right, a habanero looks very different from a sweet cherry pepper.
I'll tell you what, any hot pepper, it looks scary.
Yeah.
Like it looks like I maybe shouldn't eat that. They're like wrinkly,
Yeah.
they have like a weird shape to them.
If the pepper looks
a warning.
like sort of nightmarish, that's what it is. That's what's going to happen to you when you bite into it. Jock and I, a couple Halloweens ago on Epic Homesteading, we had a spicy pepper challenge, Ask Me Anything, and by the end of it, we got pretty loopy. But we discovered a couple techniques. If you eat Pop Rocks,
Pop
apparently,
rocks. That's a secret.
it helps. All right, Shelby Henderson, I had a random variegated corn seedling come up from a peaches and cream variety. Well, I raised it up, got it to produce seed, and planted it again with almost 100% variegated offspring. She says, sadly, none of the corn grew to produce more seeds. My biggest fail was not sending it off to someone who would have done a better job of raising the mutation. One of my biggest regrets in life. You know what? I actually really feel for you, Shelby, because a lot of plant breeding is done via what's the traditional method.
Yeah.
So you're crossing two plants, hybridizing, and you have an educated guess really of what traits will be passed on. But sometimes you just get really lucky. Like we have a friend, Sunflower Steve, who's created some very unique sunflowers. Sunflowers actually that researchers thought couldn't be created.
Yeah, you made a variegated one.
He's made a couple variegated ones, some double-headed ones, etc. And some of them, even a geneticist was like, I don't think that's possible. And he did it. And it's not like he did it, the
Yeah.
plants did it, but he grows so many that
He facilitated it.
he facilitated it. And if you do somehow miss the opportunity to clone or propagate that plant, then you're all out of luck, which is really unfortunate.
Very sad, yeah. So Colleen said, my husband decided to help me pull weeds in the garden. We have a lot of mallow, that's a tough one. Well, he pulled out all of my watermelon and pumpkin plants.
You know what? I hear this so much, like whether it's the wife or the husband,
Yeah.
I hear a lot about whoever doesn't know as much
Yeah.
about gardening will try to be helpful and will make some sort of classic faux pas, but you kind of can't be mad.
No, it's like you invited them in if you didn't give them good guidance. Honestly, it's one of those tricky things where people often want to help. I'm like, there's so many specifics I'd have to like tell you about what to do and what I'm thinking about. It could get a little tricky, but
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Colleen. Maybe your husband will know next time not to pull the watermelon squash.
All right, we've got Burbage Shitterly. Do you know moose like green tomatoes? I didn't.
A good start.
We were living in a house that backed into a wooded area and planted tomatoes against the back chain link fence. Plants were nice and healthy, but we were worried the moose was going to take the fence out, reaching over to get the fruit. Not a single fruit made it to red. I didn't know that, but I was in Alaska and I saw a moose crossing the road once, and I realized if it wants tomatoes, go ahead. Because I'm not messing with that thing. That thing is crazy big.
I've seen pictures and they are scary. So Robert here said, I planted half a garden bed full of radishes for a quick late winter harvest, but later realized the artwork in my radish seed pack is very similar to the beet seed pack. Beets are looking healthy for anyone interested.
I don't know, we've all been there, right?
It's a pretty funny mistake
Yeah.
to think that you're planting radishes and to somehow go through the whole process
Yeah.
and then be like, oh, it was beets. It happens.
It happens.
But it is
It
funny
happens.
to imagine. The Herd homestead grew 2 pumpkins and a watermelon together for 3 months. They got 1 pumpkin that went bad and no melons. What I did get was orange beetles, stink bugs, aphids, powdery mildew. The vines took up my whole backyard. I was so excited until I wasn't. My husband wants to burn everything. Honestly, burning everything might work.
She says my husband had to burn. I love she just goes, my
had
husband
to.
had to burn everything. Fire emoji.
I thought you said wants to.
No, you
Had
did
to
it.
is probably a good move.
With
Probably
that much?
eliminated the pest, destroyed the disease, did a full
Yeah.
sanitary reset. there.
Also psychologically, emotionally cleansed.
Yes,
From
of
that
course,
terrible,
yeah.
terrible result.
Got to burn away the trauma.
That's rough. Douglas Anderson. I amended my clay soil with some sand. Couldn't grow anything for 2 years until I took a pickaxe and broke it up. This is like, to me, this is a symptom of like too much bad content on the internet. Because
see, yeah.
you could Google what to do with clay soil and you'll still see people say add sand, which is a way to make a cement-like product. And a pickaxe is one of the few ways. Because if you think about it, you have clay is the smallest particles, right? And sand is a larger particle, but not like very non-uniform. Like compost is non-uniform. You'll have different things and there's like life in that. And so think about like an aggregate, like a concrete or cement. That's basically what it is.
Yeah.
It's small and medium and large particles all locking together. So that's what he created.
Instead, just add compost to your clay soil. It always works. It'll be better.
Yeah.
Trust us.
That's what we did with this whole property and it worked really well.
So Katie said, being of Irish heritage, I kind of thought that growing potatoes would be second nature to me, but every time I have tried, I have failed. I'm trying again this year, but I keep having to pull these really aggressively growing weeds that were so deeply rooted, I could only break the tops off. Well, a couple weeks ago, I got frustrated, gave one of them a really good yank, and up came a potato.
Oh no. So she just thought she was growing weeds the whole time, but she was actually growing potatoes?
That's so good.
Dude, that's one of those things where you hit yourself on the head at the end of the season.
Some of that like Irish heritage, maybe skip the gap there.
Don't let the Irish hear that one. You know what?
It's a good way to learn though.
Here's what I'll
It's a good
say,
way to learn.
Here's what I'll say. Potato leaves, when they're young, don't look like vegetables.
No, they look kind of weird.
They don't look like vegetables.
come up.
They look very similar to some types of weeds. So look, it happens.
Yeah.
All right, Sonia Hogan says, I used my new Epic 6 and 4 cell trays, thank you, Sonia, to start my tomatoes and every single one thrived. Okay, is this a fail or is this a...
Let's see.
They all did so well, I couldn't bring myself to scrap any of them and put them anywhere and everywhere. Flower beds, on the fence, against the garage, at the pool, definitely went overboard this year. Jacques would be so proud. Just call me Tomato Granny. Now I just have to figure out what to do with them. Tomato ice cream, anyone. I think our team put a success in here, because that's definitely not a fail. That's a big success.
This is my kind of fail here.
This is my kind of fail. And Sonia,
Yes.
you are our tomato grandmother.
You're making me proud right now.
We're very proud of you,
very proud.
Sonia. We're very proud. And I expect a pint of that ice cream.
Yeah. Tanad said that they had a small apple tree for 3 years now. Every year the weather freezes, blows off all the flowers and little apples. 2 years ago I had one apple left and I was waiting for it to mature. A squirrel got it. Rough. This year all the flowers and apples fell again.
That's bad.
Sometimes I feel like you honestly just get a dud plant.
Yeah.
Like, you just get a tree that's bad. And there's no other explanation. For your own sanity, for everyone's, just rip it out. Get a different one, same variety even, and you'll probably be better off.
My tip would be to do that for sure, but buy one that's a little bit more mature.
Yeah.
And see if you can just kind of let it ride. Skip
Yeah.
that growth phase that it was struggling with.
Or like a later bloomer, if they're freezing early, I don't know.
Yeah. Troy says, I tried composting by putting a bunch of food waste into a sealed barrel. Okay, I already know where this is going. With no air and never turning it. It turned into a cement block of sludge that could not be moved and smelled terrible.
I guess that's an anaerobic, like no oxygen compost.
Yeah, I mean, that's like,
It's a thing.
so here's the thing. Actually, David the Good, who's got a great YouTube channel, he has done something similar. I don't know that he's put it into a sealed barrel. I don't remember.
That's bold.
But he has a whole video, I think, where he just rots weeds in water and then just like dilutes and dumps that out.
Oh, right, like decay enough.
And it works. Now, this method is it's like creating like an atomic bomb of sludge.
That's
Like,
the old barrel.
I don't know if I would be doing that one, but
Lucky it didn't explode.
yeah, it could have. And I mean, I would have exploded, just the scent.
Oh my God,
The
that
scent.
first, when you crack that and that immediate,
That was our garden fails. Every season is a chance to learn, my friends. If you want to learn, go ahead and subscribe. Check out some of our other reaction videos. Good luck in the garden and keep on growing.